Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be reviewing DreamWorks Home. So this movie tells a story about a boob named O and how they all wind up having their alien race come to Earth to escape their enemy the Gorg. When O sends out an invite to the Gorg by mistake, he winds up teaming up with another girl who escaped the invasion named Tip, and they go to find her mom who's been relocated with the other humans, and learning friendship, and yeah, it goes exactly how you would expect it to. There are some problems here in the story besides the obvious tropes there. The movie's pace is awful. Well, not awful, but pretty bad. By 5 minutes in, the boob have already moved in, and it happens so quickly, it feels like they're even rushing it as they do it. It just feels like moving so quickly. That and certain scenes that probably should have been there, like a talk between O and Tip after O nearly abandons her and steals the guard to go to Antarctica, and she binds him up in duct tape. Next time we see him, she's taking duct tape off him, and then they're talking again as if that whole thing didn't happen, and she went from being angry with him to being sympathetic, and yeah, a big change. So, that is a major problem for this movie. That and it seems to throw as much stuff at you as it can and always has something bright and colorful, which is good to look at, but at the same time can be distracting from the story, and they often use ways out with their selection machine, which is pretty cool, but having it shoot nitros at people makes it feel like me feel like the movie always has to be throwing something cool in your face, like, look, look at this, look how this looks, which is nice, but the story doesn't seem to slow down at any point when it does things like that, which is a similar problem for the animation, which I'll get into there. And the frustrating thing is there are a lot of things that could have worked here. The friendship between Tip and O is really the highlight of the movie, and it's done so well with calm scenes between them, but it's thrown out with other scenes like of having to be cool or funny at the same time. Like all the boos talk in a very broken English sort of way, like, "Can I come into the out now? I am the sorries," which is kind of cute for some bits. And the first time I saw this, it was kind of funny, but it gets old fast. And the worst part is when it happens in serious moments, like what I just told you about, and then it feels completely out of place. O is talking to Tip about how she misses her mom, and that when you're not the with her, when you're not to belong with her, you are the sad mad. That's that's what he talks, or a pop song playing around the last third of the movie, like an hour in, and then when Tip and O are having a fight, they just have a song playing right above it, and it just feels so forced. And that's a big problem with DreamWorks in general. Their animated films seem to have songs playing at the worst times, and this is definitely a case of that. And there are some interesting ideas here: oppression, conformity, mistakes, and they're only briefly touched upon, especially the former two, which is really frustrating. Now on to the animation. This movie is very colorful and cute to look at, but similar to the story, it moves way too fast for its own good. I mean, the character designs work for the comedic tone, and the boob look great, and how they change colors over different things, like turning green for lying or having their antennas bend up But like I said before, it's always throwing something at the screen and trying to be really fast paced to the point where it can become a bit frustrating to look at. There's no times where the animation ever slows down, really. And it's a shame because the designs for these aliens are really cool and the human designs are pretty neat too. And we get to see some good landscapes with how the Boob have taken over the Earth, or Smekland as they call it. It's just, with how fast it moves, it can be frustrating, but overall, pretty decent for the animation. Finally, on to the characters. O is a character that is similarly to Stanley from A Tour in Central Park, brought up significantly by his vocal performer, in this case Jim Pearsons. And yeah, he's pretty funny as him. He does his best for some of these pretty dumb lines. If only the humor wasn't limited to that one type of joke of how O can't speak properly and mistakes things for other things, and but at the same time, he is so lovable and lucky and individual that he is pretty easy to like. Sometimes he can be annoying to the characters, possibly also to the audience. Not quite as bad, though. And he does overdo it a little sometimes, maybe, but at the same time, when we see quieter moments from him, like how he knows why he gets his name, which is an exasperated O from everyone, and he realizes they aren't happy to see him, or when he remarks how Boob don't have families, and that's why they are the way they are. So, those moments are so nice, but the film goes more into the other territory than this, which is frustrating because they definitely have something here. Going on to Tip. She's probably the best character in the movie, maybe. She and Noah are about equal, really. But there is a problem here, too, and I'm going to get out of the way and say that this is a problem for many DreamWorks movies, including Captain Underpants, which I just reviewed this Friday, as well as others such as Puss in Boots and Penguins of Madagascar. DreamWorks can't seem to hire kid actors for anything. They know they want that celebrity money, and here they wanted Rihanna for a teenage girl, and it's okay because she isn't quite as young as some of the other ones they talked about, but it's just so frustrating to hear a clearly adult voice coming from here. It's not like the voice actors on, say, The Simpsons, where they're used to having their sound like children. So it really feels off. But at the same time, I kind of like Tip. She is tough, but in an understandable way for why she's so discriminatory towards the boob in the beginning. And O doesn't really do anything to improve relations between them until they really get closer and O slowly starts to understand more about friendship. So it is understandable why she feels the way she does. And seeing how she's just so devoted to her mother and bringing her back, that is just so heartwarming to see, and how she helps O with his plot even where she has her own problems going on. And she's simply a character that's loyal and has the right amount of toughness and no nonsense without being unlikable. Going on to our villain, Captain Smek. They didn't know what they wanted to do for this guy. which is a big problem. Now, on one hand, we have a character that's very cowardly and is the best runner-awayer and proud of it and admires other people's cowardice. But on the other hand, we have a potential dictator and tyrant who plays songs for his people, aliens, like Motionless and Obedient, and erases boo that don't agree with him or make too many mistakes, and is upset at the idea of any boob having a unique password and doesn't want to think of them as unique individuals. And those two elements don't mesh well together. A character that wants to stamp out individuality needs to be really commanding and have a threatening persona to them, like General Mandible from Ants, or Hopper from A Bug's Life. But at the same time, they can have some moments of comedic bits. So even in a DreamWorks animated comedy, you could still make him funny, or maybe make him have a sidekick that turns out to be the real villain, that's the one that imposes such punishments, and still have him be the greatest runawayer. Steve Martin does an okay job, and he gets some good laughs, but the character doesn't gel well. He really doesn't. And that's a major problem for the movie. So, Home does have a lot of problems. Some plot lines are dealt with so easily in the first half of the movie, but then they amount to nothing, such as O's email. The story moves too fast for its own good. The animation always throws things at you, and the antagonist is just so inconsistent even when he gets a good laugh, and they've meshed two elements that don't work together. But at the same time, there are things that are pretty nice. When the movie isn't trying to be like talk funny, it can have some legitimate laughs. There are a couple of good jokes like the internet never lies or a caps lock jokes that are really relevant in this day and age for technology. And some of the uses that the boob find for objects such as cooking a cookbook or eating a record are pretty clever and cute and got a few chuckles. And it does work well as a kids movie. It has a good message about family and that it's okay to make mistakes. But like I said, there are a few problems, and yeah, I wouldn't call this an outright terrible film, but there are some things holding it back from being one of DreamWorks' best movies, and the biggest problem is that the ideas are there. It's just there's many times when they don't come out the way they should. But if you want a few good laughs, it will probably work for you and your kids. But if you want something that really meshes well together with story while also being comedic the whole way through, or want a better animated adventure, you're not going to get that here. It's not a bad movie, like I said before, but it's not great either. Thanks again for watching, and if you have an anime film you want me to review, please leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!